that means that the campaign is effectively doomed to fail. So one of the main reasons why it is important to do the testing is to understand, does it make sense to go into the market with that pricing? Maybe you can change the product itself and the people will be willing to pay a lot more than $300 in that case.
You are watching the Creator Chronicles. Hi, I'm Babken, and this is where we break down the silent mistakes that are happening through the different stages of a crowdfunding campaign. All great products have one thing in common: nobody builds them alone. Today we are going to discuss the silent mistakes nobody talks about. And today we have Babken, Partnership Manager at TCF, with us. Babken, in partnership, timing decides a lot. In your experience, what is the best time for the founders to onboard a partner agency?
Well, of course, the sooner they onboard it, the better, meaning the more time they will have for preparations. But I would say, in our experience, we see that projects that are bringing on agencies at least like 6 months before the launch, before the planned launch of the campaign, they're seeing much better results, and they're having enough time to prepare for every single aspect of the campaign in a very detail-oriented manner.
Great. When saying better results, what do we have in these cases?
It's not only about the amount of money that a project can raise on a crowdfunding platform, but it also depends on how well they understand their market, their potential customers, and how well they can satisfy the needs of their potential customers. So we've been talking about this all over LinkedIn, all over our communication channels, saying that it is very important before the launch to really understand the market, to really understand the pain points of your potential customers. So before launching a campaign, we take really good time to prepare for market validation, lead generation, in terms of testing the market interest, testing different price points, testing different audiences, even in some cases making changes to the product itself to finally identify what is the best way to present the product and what is the best positioning and pricing to use when launching the campaign.
Okay, in this case, when you are saying the creator should onboard an agency 6 months before launching the campaign, what if they have already done their own lead generation, or they have the price point that's fixed in their minds?
It is great if creators have done certain lead generation, but it is always important to really understand how relevant that lead generation is. I've seen many cases where creators come with some lead generation results, which during the campaign or at any point during the preparations, you identify that these are not high quality leads. So if they have done any activities, that's great. It is very important to evaluate the quality of the leads, the quantity of the leads, and whether those are crowdfunding friendly, because that is another very important point. And if they have done lead generation, if they have already a community, that can be a starting point. But testing is not only about pricing. So maybe they have their price fixed, but they identify that the market doesn't like that pricing. So let's say you have a product, you want to sell it for $300, but the market is not willing to pay that much. That means that the campaign is effectively doomed to fail. So one of the main reasons why it is important to do the testing is to understand, does it make sense to go into the market with that pricing? Maybe you can change the product itself and the people will be willing to pay a lot more than $300 in that case.
Okay, and how does this affect in a limited budget? For example, if a creator has a fixed budget, but they have already done their own lead generation, they are choosing an agency, and the agency says that they need to verify those leads, which means to requalify them. Is it going to cost another part of budget from them?
It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to spend a lot of money. There are different ways to qualify the leads, one of which is doing and implementing a reservation funnel. So it's one thing when people are putting down their email address. It's a commitment still. But it's another thing when people are committing money to the product. It can be $1, $2, $5. It can be like a symbolic amount. But you want to see if people are willing to commit money to the product. Another way to qualify the leads can be simply sending them emails and seeing what is the open rate, or maybe give them another action. It doesn't necessarily have to be reservation. Ideally, it would be. But you can try different things. And you can look at email open rates, you can look at reservation rates, and a couple of other key metrics to understand if those are really committed people.
And what are the chances that those requalified leads are going to be your final backers?
So it depends. It depends on how well you did the lead generation. It depends on how well you targeted the ads. It depends on how well you keep the communication, because that's another thing. you don't just simply gather leads, you also need to nurture them and you need to warm them up. Generally, when we're doing the lead generation, the pre-launch part, we see 5% conversion rate from the leads, like 4 to 5% conversion rate from the leads. And from reservations, it's a lot higher. It can be like around 40%, maybe in some cases even higher. The metrics depend on category, on the niche of the product, but these are kind of the average numbers. And it's always good to have a big customer base, database of emails, I would say an early community before you launch your campaign, because it is going to help you with the first day buzz to get the campaign fully funded. And as we all know, that is one of the key factors that is going to influence the success of the campaign long term.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that they can have their own client base, maybe from their own community or a campaign that they did a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If the time is hectic, can they skip the validation or lead generation stage and go on with their own audience?
This is a really tricky question, and technically, yes, they can. But is it the best way to approach that? Definitely no. A lot of times your past customers might not be your customers for your new product. So it is very important to understand how does the market react to this new product. So if you created a smartphone, let's say a year ago, and now you're coming up with a completely new product, let's say a water bottle, like the people that bought your previous product might not be the target market of your new product. If those are products that are more in the same niche, you can rely on feedback from your existing community, but it is always good before the launch to test new audiences, new strategies, and see what's working. Because even if your past communities are going to work, maybe you're missing out on a really big and really important part of the market without trying out this proper preparation stage.
So as you say, if I'm a creator and I'm going to launch the second version of my previous campaign, I have my own audience, and I want to onboard an agency. What's going to be their role here if I already know that what I need is to use my own community to do a small part of lead generation and go ahead and hit the benchmark that I set up already?
Even if we're talking about a second version of the same product, you really need to look into the market and understand the market needs at that specific time. How much has changed at that time? Maybe a competitor launched with a better product, with a better feature, and whatever you're offering right now is not even covering the bare minimum requirements of the market. It's also important to understand how many of your previous customers are going to be interested to buy the new version. And it's always good to look into new opportunities and test out different strategies before you launch, because this is also about testing. You're testing out strategies, you're testing out audiences, you're testing out what kind of positioning to use, what kind of language to use to communicate with your community, with your potential buyers. And refining this and kind of fine-tuning those activities is what differentiates good campaigns from great campaigns.
So if I'm a type of creator who wants to have a good campaign instead of a great one, what's the role of partner agency here if I can do it in a good way on my own?
Well, it depends on what activities you can handle. Like if you have everything in-house, you have a great team and you're satisfied and you're sure that they can bring the value that and the results that you're expecting them to bring, that's great. The benefit of crowdfunding agencies is the fact that, like an agency like TCF, we always have our pulse on the industry. We will always know what's happening, what kind of changes are happening at Meta, what kind of changes are happening at Google, how to construct the campaign page to maximize the return. So even if you're a creator who've done 2, 3, 4 campaigns and you're launching your next one, you aren't always looking at what's happening at the crowdfunding market, what new trends are out there. We, on the other hand, we're always managing different campaigns. We're always seeing what's working and what's not working. And we have the capability and we have the team to deliver the highest possible return on investment, not mentioning the average raise.
So technically, if everything is moving faster in today's world, can a creator onboard an agency later than the optimum time?
Not really. The timelines are pretty well calculated, which are based on how much proper validation can take, how much further testing can take. Like maybe you do the validation, and then you find out that you need to make some changes to the product. Or we had a recent case where we saw that people were not ready to reserve the product because they weren't trusting in its ability to perform. So what we did, we asked the creator to do some further testings with the product, to do experiments, to create some focus groups, use the product, create some videos, and share actual reviews. And after doing that, we saw significantly improved performance. So there are lots of things that can happen. And these 6 months is taking into consideration all potential changes that you might need to do. Doing another iteration, testing a different positioning, making changes to the product itself to see if you can actually increase the potential even further and appeal to a broader market.
In this case, like we can say that even if everything is moving faster, customer and people's behavior actually stays the same.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, jumping back to the timing for deciding what is the best time to start a partnership with an agency. Are there any kind of specific problems that creators can face when they are being late besides like the budget?
Of course. Like these 6 months is not something we took out of the air. As I said earlier, there are lots of things that need to be done. First of all, validation, testing, positioning, pricing, market interest, and a couple of other things. It can be product related or other. Then you need some time to prepare certain activities for the launch, whether it is creation of your campaign page, whether it is reaching out to journalists and influencers to start certain promotions for the campaign, whether it is setting the best possible dates with backer communities. So there are lots of things that need to go into this 6 weeks. And if you try to squeeze it in a shorter term, you either don't do it properly or you don't do it at all. And all of those activities are very, very key for the success of the campaign. PR, influencer marketing, proper website, proper campaign page that converts well. Many creators don't understand the full value of having a well-designed and well-structured campaign page. It is what is going to convert people eventually. Like all the other marketing channels that you're using, eventually people end up on this page. So having a proper page is very important. And it can take a lot of back and forth communication with the creator because we're the agency, we have high level of ownership, we want the best for the campaign. But at the end of the day, it is the creator's product. So it is important to double check with them, make sure that the branding is right, the communication is right, and everything is aligned with the brand book of the company.
Okay, so basically, timing in partnership means the money raised for a product as well.
Yes, of course. It can be what makes or breaks the campaign. You do the preparation well, you lay the foundations well, you're going to have a much more successful campaign than if you rush the campaign, you don't do proper testing, you don't do proper campaign page design, you skip email marketing activities. Like you can't squeeze everything into a couple of weeks or a month. And the more time you have, the more time you have to be safe, to do everything properly and plan everything accordingly.
Perfect. So what would be the one and only advice that you would give to creators as for now?
It is really difficult to size it down to one advice, but I would say it is understanding your market. Really try to understand the market that you want to penetrate, their needs, their pain points, and the right way to communicate how your product is solving them.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Like you give very insightful thoughts that everyone should actually count on, especially creators. Yeah. So, as you are our first guest, with you, we are going to set up a tradition for our podcast. You are going to leave one question for the next guest, and you do not know who this guest is going to be, and they are going to answer to that specific question from you. So
I don't even know what kind of department they're from or what kind of field they're from.
Yeah.
In that case, I would try to keep it broad. What is the main challenge that creators face in their field and how they help solving that challenge?
Thank you very much, Babken, for the insightful conversation. So stay tuned and do not forget to hit the subscribe button so as to get notified for the new episodes.